Hello everybody, this is Oksana Rudko and my brand of knitted bags, La Accessory. In this video lesson, I'm going to show you how to make such a trendy small bag. I call it Kiti bag with leather accessories, 2 leather handles. It has a zipper inside and you can attach a long shoulder strap to make it a crossbody. It is rather spacious for its size and has such a rectangular shape. Due to the handles, it looks a little bit oblong, but here it is almost a rectangle, almost a square. So, following this video masterclass, you can make absolutely any bag in any size, following the same pattern. You can make it wider, you can make it taller, or bigger or smaller, and you can adapt the length of zipper and of course add handles that you like. So this is the basic look of basic model. Now let's talk about the size. In this masterclass you will learn how to work with a new pattern, a really thick texture. It consists of 2 pieces that are sewn together and also 2 sides which will be sewn separately with a really nice pattern. I'll show you how to sew it, and I'll tell you at once that here we will use just one type of stitch. It's very interesting. Even while sewing we'll use the same pattern. You'll learn how to sew leather handles, how to sew in the zipper with such little widening for the zipper. I'll show you how to sew it in and how to sew the zipper to it. We will also add a lining. Unfortunately, this I haven't sewn the lining inside yet, but I'm going to do this. It's difficult to show you, but I'll also show you how to add a lining into the bag. And also here I have attached half rings, so I'll show you how you can do this. So as to the side, this front part is approximately 21.5 centimeters. Width is 20.5 centimeters. Its depth is 9 centimeters. You see it is slightly going inside like this. When you fold it a little bit, it looks better. So in this zipper, I chose 18 centimeters zipper, so we have some little end, so you can use 15 centimeter zipper as well. Then we will sew such leather handles. They are 45 centimeters. I have already measured them together with this piece. And also a shoulder strap. It's also leather shoulder strap, 1.5 centimeter width, 1 meter length. Together with lobster clasp, it's really easy. You just attach it and it's ready. So in this video masterclass, I'll show you polyester cord, 5 millimeters. I'll use this one. It is without a filler and it is flat. Pay attention that it is flat. That's how it looks. It is a little bit stretchy, but not much, not too stretchy, so it's really nice to work with it. Here I have 100 meters, so you need 200 meters, 2 skeins in total. 2 leather handles, 45 centimeters each, a long leather shoulder strap, 1 meter, or you can crochet it, it's up to you, 2 half rings, a zipper. This zipper perhaps I will have to change. I'll just show you as an example. I prefer to use spiral zippers or metal zippers that are of a high quality, but they are very expensive, so sometimes I prefer spiral zippers. And they should be wider, so I'm not going to use this one. I'll just show you as an example. It should be slightly wider, so I'll be looking for it. So that's what you need for the bag. Then, of course, if you make a lining, that you need some fabric for a lining. It can have different textures, like satin, silk. And as to the zipper, the width of the zipper is approximately 6 to 7 millimeters here. This one will be perfect. Now, as to the tools, we will need, first of all, crochet hooks. I'm going to use 5 millimeter 4mm may be too high for ends for additional use. And of course you have your own gauge, so for you it might be slightly smaller or slightly bigger hook, 4.5 or 5.5. So here you have to use the hook that you need. After you have made a sample, you can measure it and then you'll see whether you need a smaller or a bigger crocheting hook. Then I'll use measuring tape, some sewing pins of course, and especially when we will be sewing leather handles, we'll need sewing pins to pin them in place. Then we'll need plastic darning needle and maybe several knitting markers, measuring tape, and needle and thread in matching color. And this thread should be really strong so that we can sew leather handles with it. And also we will need some fabric, some thread, I mean matching color of a fabric, is ordinary cotton thread, to sew the lining. I haven't bought a blue thread yet, I have to buy it and then I'll show you as I'll be making the lining. So let's get started. We start with casting on the chains, so now let's talk about the beginning. Now we will be making the sample first, because with a sample you can see your gauge, you can train how to make the pattern. And when I started making this bag, I had to change it 5 times before I found the right view. If you want to get the right size, you have to make the sample to learn how to make the pattern and to see your gauge. The sample we make so that you can make calculation. Then according to this measurement, according to this calculation, you will be able to make this bag in absolutely any size. So it's really handy if you need a big shopper bag or a small one, you can make it bigger or smaller. So the width of our bag is approximately 20 centimeters. When we have sewn it, it will be 21 together with the trimming. So we will think about the width 19 to 20 centimeters. So you can make it 19, you can make it 20 or 21. It's okay if you make it 1 centimeter bigger or smaller, it will be okay. So now we'll start with a sample where I will show you all the details, how to make a sample, how to measure it, and how to start making the bag. So let's start with the 0 stitch, preparative stitch, which we do not count. Put the short end of the working thread on top like this. So you have a loop. Hold it with your fingers like this. Working thread is on your index finger. And you insert the hook from below into this loop and grab the working thread like this. It's really easy to start with this masterclass even if you have never crocheted before. For this sample, we will cast on 12 stitches. I divided to 10 main stitches and 2 lifting chains because 10 stitches will be for the pattern and 2 will be just for lifting to the next row. So we cast on rather loose stitches, so do not tighten them too much or it will be difficult for you to work with it. And so try to make stitches all the same, so don't make one stitch smaller, other bigger. Try to make it the same. That's why I say you need to make a sample. You have to train a little bit. I'll work it approximately like this. So we grab the working thread and pull it through the loop. Remember that this is the first stitch. The one on the hook is not tightened. Next, third and fourth and fifth, sixth, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th can be slightly smaller. So there are lifting chains. Now let's count it. Remember that we do not count this knot at the beginning. It was just preparative stitch. So count all the rest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the one on the hook we do not count. We never count this one on the hook. And then we start working the pattern. We skip the first stitch, this and these ones, 2 chains that we have made for the lifting, and insert it into the next. Under the upper half loop, pull the working thread, and then at once through this loop. And we make 1 more chain. So this is the first stitch ready. Now we insert the hook in the next one. Here it is. Under upper, you see upper and lower half loops. Upper half loops, we use only upper half loops. Don't skip the stitches. Don't work 2 times into the same opening. So next stitch is this one. So we insert the hook and make the next stitch. So our pattern will consist of a stitch that we make under the upper half loop of each stitch, then through the loop on the hook, and then 1 more stitch. Like this. So here also, if you want to make the bag softer, do not tighten the stitches. If you want the bag to be stiffer, vice versa, to be rather thick, then you tighten the stitches. So it depends whether you tighten or do not tighten the stitches. So first loop under upper half loop and through the loop on the hook at once, that is a slip stitch, and then make 1 more chain. And so we repeat slip stitches and chains, slip stitches and chains. So make a slip stitch and then a chain. And likewise. A slip stitch and a chain. Again, make a slip stitch. Again. Make a slip stitch and then make a chain. And again a slip stitch and a chain. And the last one here. Here is this knot which we do not count as a stitch, and here is the last stitch. Make a slip stitch and then a chain. And now we will go to the second row. In classical crochet work, we usually make 1 chain. And here we have made 2 chains, but it is only here that we have made 2 chains, 2 lifting chains. Then we will start the work without lifting chains, because the last stitch is already this lifting stitch. So we will not make any lifting chains. So now let's count to make sure how many stitches we have made. Let's count. Starting, we will count on top so that we understand how many stitches we have done, because you'll have the same number. So if you have 10 stitches, you have 10 stitches plus 2 lifting chains, 12 in total. Yeah, we don't count 2, so you have 10 stitches. So you will have 20 braids, because for each stitch we made 2, one slip stitch and 1 chain, 1 slip stitch and 1 chain. So you will have 20. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20, the one on the hook, we do not count, yes? So this loop, we don't count it. It's not a stitch yet. And also pay attention that I haven't counted this first one because it is a lifting chain. It doesn't belong to the second row. We started with horizontal stitches here. And so we go on working, turn our work, make no lifting chains. Yeah. Now I'll show you how we're going to work the second row, how we're going to work this pattern. We see, so let's have a look in general. And we see that here we have such vertical loops. You can see them clearly. They are slightly at an angle, slightly tilted. They go from right to left, a little bit at an angle. And exactly into them we'll be making our pattern with the same stitch. So we insert the hook into the first vertical diagonal stitch, half loop that is, insert it here, and make a slip stitch at once and then make a chain, just like we did in the previous row. Insert the hook under the half loop, make a slip stitch, make a chain. Then insert it into the next one, only one, under half loop, slip stitch and a chain. And again insert the hook, make a slip stitch and make a chain. And again insert the hook, make a slip stitch and then make a chain. And so you repeat all the same. Insert the hook, make a slip stitch and a chain. Insert, make a slip stitch and a chain. And then at the end, here you see the last stitch between the first and the second row. You see not a vertical one, but these slightly crossed, two crossed half loops. And the same. You see it starts to go round, but if you have stretched the first loops, then you'll be able to make it straight. If you made them too tight, it will be difficult. That's why I told you don't make them too tight. So if it goes round just a little bit like this, it is okay. Because when we work all the next rows, this line will be straighter because each next row will tighten it, so it will be okay if it is rounded just a little bit. Now let's check the number of stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20, here it is. And we do not count this loop. Yeah, we count the stitch. If you don't have 20, then you have to undo it. And we turn our work. All the following rows we will work the same. So now I'll work it together with you so that you see the pattern and then you can continue working on your own. So we turn the work, and again we are looking for these vertical half loops and insert the hook only into those vertical half loops and make a slip stitch and then a chain. Try to make your gauge the same, either you do it all the time a little bit tighter or all the time a little bit looser, but just make your gauge the same all the time. Make a slip stitch and a chain. and again a slip stitch and a chain, a slip stitch and a chain. When you will have more rows done, I'll show you how it is easier to count the rows. So I think that pattern itself, it's really easy because it consists only of slip stitches and chains. So just follow masterclass to see how many rows you have to make, how you join, and all the rest. So let's have a look. Here on this side you already can see such stripes. So by these stripes you can count so that it looks nice. You have to train. You have to train a little bit so that you get a neat and nice pattern at once. So that's why you make a sample. Check that you have 20 stitches. And so you turn it back and forth and work all the rows the same way, making slip stitch and then a chain, a slip stitch and then a chain. And so like this we go on working till the end of the row. At the end of the row I can show you where we insert the hook. This time it will be better to see. We insert the hook. This is our side. So we insert the hook into last two half loops of this row. They are slightly crossed. And then grab your working thread and make the last stitch. We don't make lifting chains because we have already made one according to the pattern. Turn our work. And so like this, for a sample, let's make 6 rows for sample that we do. You will already be able to see the pattern, and I'll show you how to measure and how to find out the number of rows you need. And we'll make calculations for your bag, for the size of the bag that you need. So I have worked 9 centimeters instead of 6. I just wanted to show you so that you can better see the pattern on a bigger piece of pattern of sample. So how we count the rows? It's really easy to count the rows by these stripes, these protruding braids. Here you see one protruding braid, then the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So actually you'll have 9 rows, but we will count only these protruding ones, so that it is easy. And also you will see the centimeters. So number of the rows may differ because we all have our own gauge. So the right side of this pattern is this one. This, where the lower part consists of a braid like this. But again, it doesn't matter. Actually, we'll talk about it later. How to measure how many rows you need for your size, for the desired size of the bag. So now you need to take measuring tape and measure the width of your sample. Pay attention that the gauge which you worked this sample should be the same when you will make the bag. Here it might happen that you will have different gauge on the sample at the beginning and the end. So choose the one which you're going to use for the bag. So I will write down when I cast on 10 chains plus 2 lifting chains, I got the width of 12 centimeters. For example, we don't know how many chains we need, how many stitches. But I want to get 20 centimeters. So how do I find x? According to the rules of mathematics, we multiply 12 by x. It will be the same as 10 multiplied by 20. Then x is 200, 10 multiplied by 10, yeah, divided by 12. And that is going to be, I have counted it, and I got 16.6. So you need to cast on 16 or 17 stitches. I'll cast on 16 plus 2 stitches lifting chains. Because for black one I also used 16 stitches, so I'm sure that it will be okay. So now when you cast on, for example, 20, you may get not 20 centimeters but 22 centimeters. So if it is okay for you, continue. If you want to make your bag smaller, because it all depends on the gauge, only on your gauge, and you have to work it out. What is your gauge and how you work, tight or loose. So just don't be afraid to change it, to start again if you don't like the gauge, you don't like the size. So I'm going to work for 16 stitches plus 2 lifting chains. So now you can undo the sample and start working the bag with the number of stitches you have defined for yourself. So now you need to cast on the number of stitches that you have calculated. Here I'm not going to go as detailed as I did it at the beginning. If you need, you can come back to the sample and have a look again. So we make the preparative stitch, put working thread crisscross, insert the hook, grab the working thread and make the first knot. Remember that here you do not tighten the stitches. Try to make them slightly looser. I will cast on 16 plus 2 lifting chains, 18 stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Ready? Check, count your stitches. Make sure and remember that we count these braids. And you do not count the loop on the hook. So work the first row, skip 2 lifting chains, insert the hook into the third, into the upper half loop. Grab working thread and make a slip stitch. Then make a chain, like we did when we were making the sample. And so you alternate, make a slip stitch and then a chain. If you forget to make a chain, then you will not have this vertical half loop, which you're going to use to work all the next rows. So here be very attentive. You have to undo it and work it again if you have skipped the chain. So be very careful here. Don't forget to make the chain. So insert the hook, make a slip stitch and a chain. And again a slip stitch and a chain. Try to keep the same gauge, the same that you had when you were making the sample. And so like this, go on working till the end of the row. Then I'll show you how we start the second. And then you'll continue working on your own. So I have made almost the first row, and here I have the last stitch. I have the knot and the last stitch. Insert the hook into the last stitch and a lifting chain. So let's count. I cast on 18 stitches, 16 and 2 lifting chains. So here it will be double. So 16 multiplied by 2 will be 32. So let's count, starting with this one, the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Just a second. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So 32 is this one, the loop. Yeah, in this case we counted. Let's turn our work. And now we're going to make stitches right into this vertical half loops. You can see them. Check that you have them. It means that you haven't skipped any lifting chains. No, then a number of stitches wouldn't be right if you missed something. So now, the second row, we insert the hook under the half loop, under this vertical half loop that you can see clearly here, and make the same slip stitch and a lifting chain, slip stitch and lifting chain. And so you alternate all the time. Insert the hook, make a slip stitch and a chain. And again, make a slip stitch and a chain. And so like this, go on working till the end of the row. So at the end of the second row, remember that we insert the hook into these two crossed half loops at the end, so the last one is slightly different. Again, have a look here. I'll show you a close-up, and you have to make the last stitch here. So check that you have the right number of stitches, starting with the first horizontal one, and then turn your work. So like this, working into vertical half loops, making a slip stitch, then a chain, slip stitch, then a chain, we continue working back and forth the number of rows you need. I do not count the rows, I will count them later. Now it's difficult to count, it will be easier when you have worked some more rows. So let's make several rows and then we'll meet again. I'll show you the measurement. First of all, we'll measure it and then we will see how many rows we have to make. Again, I want to show you how we make the last stitch here, because it's a very tricky point where you can easily miss it. So here you see this vertical one, and above it one more slightly crossed with it. You can see them clearly, just don't forget to work the last stitch here, slip stitch and a chain. And so you count number of stitches that you have, multiply the number of stitches you have cast on by 2. Turn your work and continue working like this. Then when you have made several more rows, you can measure it and then you work on your own. So now let's measure. I have worked several rows more, so I want to show you where the right side is going to be. We will count the rows and we will see how many rows we need to make. So here I have 20 centimeters. Let me see. Yeah, right side is this one where we have this braid right next to the edge. You have such a line of half loops, and at once you have a protruding element. So this is the right side. Here it's easy to count the rows. If you count those protruding ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so on. In my black bag, I made 2 pieces, 18 rows each. There will be, of course, more than 18 rows, 2 times more, but we count by 2 rows. Yeah, we count 2 rows as one. We count the pattern rows. So in total it will be 36 rows, but if you count these protruding ones, then you have 18. So now you may have a different number of rows for your size and for your gauge, but approximately 18 rows. You need to get 26 centimeters anyway. It will be the front part and a part of the bottom. Total is 26. Then we will sew together 20 to 26 centimeters. We will sew them together here along this line. So now you need to make 2 pieces like this. Each of them has 18 stripes or 36 rows. And then I'll check whether it will be enough for 26 centimeters. I'll leave it. If I need to add more, I will add several more. So here it's up to you. Have a look at your size. You need to get 20 to 26 centimeters. And so like this, make 2 pieces. When I finish the first one, I will stop and show you, of course, the last row and all the measurements. Last row, I work slightly tighter than all the rest. Maybe I'll even take smaller crocheting hook. I'll show you how we work the last row. So now go on working 18 rows. Do not cut the thread. Stop, work this last row together with me, and then we'll work 2 pieces and sew them together. So I have made this piece almost. I have only the last row to make. We'll work it together. I want to show you the last row. In my black bag I didn't do it, but here I'll give it a try. I'll take a smaller crocheting hook, 4.5 millimeters. I want to make the last row slightly tighter because, let's say, each previous row was tightening. Each next row tightens the previous one, and this last one is alone, doesn't have the next one, so we have to tighten it somehow on its own. So let's try to work tightly and using a smaller crocheting hook. So work this row like all the previous ones, but make it a little bit tighter. So we will see. Let's give it a try with a smaller crocheting hook, just in case. Let's work this row together. So, and the last stitch in this row, we make just a joining slip stitch without a chain. Just a slip stitch. Leave the free end. So I have 25.5. It is okay. I'll stop at this. In black bag I had 26. It's because here I've made the last row tighter. And now these last 3 rows will be for the bottom, and the rest will be the front part. So now we will start working the same piece, exactly the same, which we will then sew together along this line. This free end you can cut or you can leave it, and then you will use it approximately 4 meters so that you can sew the side and the base together, so that you don't have to cut, hide, attach a new one. So if you prefer to use this thread, it's better to leave about 4 meters. Yeah, you have to leave a lot so that you have enough. So you can leave about 4 meters here and then cut it. You can just tie them in a knot because it will just disturb your work. And then you will have the same one on the next piece. Like this. So I have tied it in such a roll, and I will just fix it, try to fix it like this to stop it from rolling around. And now we will start making the same piece like this. In the second piece, you can leave this free end slightly longer as well, so that you can sew this bottom when you will be joining the two bottoms together. You can use it. So you take a new skein. Here you don't need much, about 2 meters will do. You can also tie it somehow so that it will not disturb you. And you start making the piece exactly like you did the previous one. I'm not going to show it. You can just come back and watch again how I made the first part. Absolutely the same you make the second one. But here you need to have this free end like working. You can just little melt it because it will fray. You can stop it from fraying like this, and it will be easier to work with it. So now let's start making the second piece, and after you have finished, then we will start sewing them together. So now when two pieces are ready, remember that you have left 2 free ends here, 4 meters each, so that you can sew the sides. And on one of them I left also several meters at the beginning to sew it with side. Here we're going to sew it this way. Pay attention that here right side where the first row starts, the pattern starts at once at the first row. On the other side you have slightly different. I think that this one looks better, so I prefer to use this one as my right side. Now this free end, the small free end, we have to hide it first. Just hide it between some stitches here. Then we will cut it before we start sewing the piece together. So I have to cut this piece where I have melted it. And before I start sewing the pieces together, I prefer to sew this free end or just hide it behind some stitches and leave it there. If you have a dark color, you can also melt it with lightener and just press it to the wrong side. It won't be visible. We're going to cover it all with the lining anyway. So it is up to you how you prefer to make it. I will just hide it for the time being. I will sew it later. And now I'll show you how we sew these two pieces together. We will sew it on this side. I'll give you a zoom in, and then now I'll show you general, and then I make a zoom in so that you can see how we sew it. So we place two pieces, one next to the other. If you do such a knot as I do, the same way, then you can now undo it and it will be safe. If you start differently, then there is a hazard that the first stitch will come off. So only if you do it the same way as I do, you can now undo it to avoid this bulky knot at the beginning. So the first Now I'll give you a zoom in. And we placed these two pieces one next to the other with the right sides facing. So here where we have started working on one of the sides, as you remember, we left 2 meters of free end when we began casting on, and now we will use crocheting hook to sew it together. I think I'll use 4.5. You can use number 5, it will do. So first of all, we need to do the following. We insert the crocheting hook in the opposite piece here, right into the corner, and we take the working thread and grab it, pull it completely through. To stop the end from fraying, I have melted it with lighter, slightly burned it. Now we need to make the first stitch, that is to align these two pieces. So we need to insert the hook into this big opening, but as it is too big, I will grab one more, just to avoid this big hole. If I just insert it here, there will be a hole. So I want to avoid this hole, so I'll grab several half loops and again return it back. So you see, both pieces are matching. Now we have our working thread here, and we need to insert our hook right under these half loops on one side and on the other side. So we insert it on one side and we insert into the opposite half loop on the other side. And then grab the working thread, like this. 1, 2. Then we insert it into the next one and next one. 1 and the second. And make a stitch. That's how it's going to look. In the next one and the next one here. So we get such a nice braid here along the edge. The next one. And pull the working thread and at once through the loop on the hook. So we are making slip stitches. Pull this loop slightly longer so they are nice, and try to make them all the same size. Then again, under one half loop here and under one half loop there, through both pieces and through the loop on the hook. And so, like this, you go on working till the end of this piece. And then again through one, through the other. And so go on working with slip stitches till the end. At the end I'll show you how we finish this seam. Find each next half loop on one side, on the other side, and then here. And so go on working till the end. Now we have several stitches to go. Maybe one and to fix the end. Insert it here and here. Make a slip stitch, and we need maybe I think we could make one more here, right into the corner here, and then Let's make this loop, pull the free end. Let's have a look whether it will look nice. Here you can make one more stitch if you need to match these two pieces. You see here I have such a hole which doesn't look nice, so I have to do something with it. And how can I hide it? I can find one more half loop, but this time grab some, you see, big hole, not into it, but into the next stitch, the next opening. And make one more slip stitch here, like this, but it has tightened it. Yeah, do not see the hole anymore, which is great. And then I will insert it into the last stitch of this part to imitate this last stitch. And I think perhaps I'll make one more to cover it better. Right here. So we're going to make a false slip stitch. If you do not have this gap, you do not have this hole, then you can stop with the last stitch. I just want to make it straight on both sides, same. So this free end, leave it, I'll cut it, and then I'll hide the free ends later, when we'll be sewing the side. So that's how these two pieces look sewn together. Let's measure. In general, it will be 50 centimeters and a half, 51. It might be 51, 52. It will be okay. Same, because you have slightly different gauge. It might differ 1 centimeter plus or minus. It is okay. So now we need to make the bottom. For the bottom, I wanted to use 3 such stripes on each side without counting the joining stitch. So in black bag I did it like this, so here I'll keep the same. Don't count this. 1, 2, 3. 3 protruding lines, protruding braids, and I mark it with a marker, this place where the bottom will end. Here as well, 1, 2, 3, and mark this place with a marker. Let's measure approximately in centimeters. It is 9 centimeters. Okay, I think that will do. And we need to insert 2 more markers opposite it. I do this so that first of all we can sew the sides in right places, and then we need to measure how many stitches we need to cast on for the sides. So also mark it on this side, the same spots. Like this. And on this side as well. So this is going to be the bottom. Here I have approximately 9 centimeters. So now we can measure on this same piece how many stitches do we have in 9 centimeters. But be careful, there I worked rather tight at the very end, you remember, so you can measure it somewhere in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 stitches are approximately in 9 centimeters, which means that we have to divide it by 2, because here in this pattern we made 2 stitches for 1 cast on stitch. So it makes 7 stitches. I have to cast on 7 stitches approximately to make the side, plus 2 lifting chains. Of course, I did it when I made my black bag. So measure the width of your bottom, Then have a look how many stitches you have here divided by 2, and you will get the number of stitches you need to cast on for the side, so that you make a piece that will be approximately the same width. So let's put aside these pieces, and now we will make 2 pieces for the sides of the bag. The width is going to be 7 plus 2 lifting chains in my case, and height is going to be 15 such protruding things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. So actually minus 3, we need 15 protruding. That is 30 rows, right? So I'll take crocheting hook 5 millimeters again, and I'll cast on 7 chains, work loose, do not tighten, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 lifting chains, 1, 2. Okay. So we continue working according to the same pattern, skip 2 and make a slip stitch in the next one and a chain, and so we repeat slip stitch and a chain, slip stitch and a chain. Try to make it with the same gauge as you made your front and back part, maybe a little bit tighter. So let's make several rows, and then we will measure the width, how much we have. If you do not have the right size, then it's better to start again. Make 1 stitch less or more. So first row is ready. Let's make several rows, and then we will measure it together. So I have made first 4 repeats, 8 rows, and then I can try it onto the bottom like this, just visually see whether the size will be okay. Here I see that it fits, yeah, more or less. Maybe it's 5 millimeters wider, but it is okay. In general, it fits. So I can continue working. If you see that size is not right, you have to start again. Maybe you can work tighter to make it smaller, or vice versa, or make 1 stitch more or 1 stitch less. So make 15 repeats in each side. That is if you count these protruding sides, or 30 rows in total. Here you can see these protruding braids. So go on working like this, and we'll meet when you have both pieces ready. We'll hide the free ends, and then we will shape the bag. So now the sides are ready. That's how they look. Remember that right side will be this one, where the pattern starts right at the beginning, right at the first row here, because I think it just looks nicer. So the upper rows I also worked with a smaller crocheting hook to make them slightly tighter, so that they do not differ from all the rest. And I've stopped before I made the last chain. I've cut the free end. Before I start sewing the free ends, we need to hide all the free ends. I'll show you as an example, and then you can go on and sew all the free ends. If you doubt whether the bag is okay, and if you doubt that it will turn out exactly as you like, maybe you will have to undo it and start again. Just do not sew the free ends, do not glue them, just hide them inside, just in case you will need to undo something and do it again. So right side, I turn it to the wrong side and hide free ends. I'll take a smaller crochet hook and hide it behind several stitches. found the wrong side, just hide it inside. Slightly push it. Make sure that nothing is tight in it, that you have not. Also, be careful when you hide it. Don't hide it right along this edge, because when you will be sewing pieces together, you don't want these to be thicker. So hide it somewhere in the middle. Now take some thread in matching color. It may be slightly lighter, it's okay. So you just, it's really easy to sew polyester cord, so you just make several stitches through this free end. Make sure that you sew through both free end and the base. I don't make any knots, I just make several stitches like this, back and forth. It's really easy to work with polyester cord, so it's really easy to pierce it through. This free end I will not cut, I'll cut it later when I have fixed it completely, when I'm sure that everything is okay and I can finally cut it. So here it is, I have fixed it in place. Now I will cut it completely. And I highly recommend you to make one more seam here where you have cut, just to secure it. Just to secure it once again, like this. That's it, now you can cut your thread. So one free end is ready, and like this you now sew all the rest, all the free ends that you have on the sides and on the base, and will be sewing pieces together. It's also important that, I think I haven't said about it, let's measure the side to make sure that the size is exactly what we need. So it is approximately 21 centimeter in height, and this one 21 as well. Yes, that's right. So it can be a little bit more or less, several millimeters more or less, I mean. And here I also have 21 centimeter. Have a look here. 21, and it is before the bottom. Yeah, 21 before the bottom on this side. So when you have already mastered the pattern, you work with the same gauge, so you will get the same number of centimeters in this number of stitches. So 1 centimeter might be plus or minus, but in general it will be the same. So hide all the pieces. And now we can start sewing all the pieces together, sides and base. We take any of the sides, find the right side of it here, and we put it with the upper part next to the upper part of the base, like this. So we will go down and then along the bottom, and then like this, approximately. So this is the wrong side, this is the right side. So here find right sides and make sure that right sides are on the right side. And now we will start sewing using the same stitch. So we left free end. If you haven't left a free end, here you need to take a new. So we place it like this, 2 pieces. Pay attention that here it's really easy because you can see these half loops, and the rows will be matching. Row will be textured, they look like braids, so each row on this side will have the same one on the other side. So here you just have to match the rows, And that's why it's so easy to sew it. You will see that you just have to align one row and the other. I want to try sewing it with a smaller crochet hook. I think it will be easier. You can also try, if it will be handy for you, you can take a smaller crocheting hook. So first stitch we make the following way. We insert the hook into the braid here where the working thread is and pierce the opposite side here just into the corner like this, and then we grab the working thread and make a loop, not too long, and make such a chain. So we're going to sew it using the same pattern. We'll be making slip stitch, then a chain, slip stitch, then a chain, and so we will alternate. So you see, even when sewing together, we use just the same stitch. So then let's have a look where we insert the hook. I'll make a zoom in. Now, here we have rows which are matching. Yeah, so match the rows on one side, starting with the upper one on one side and upper one on the other side. And so you need to find two half loops here, for example, one on one side. They are quite long and they will be opposite this protruding row. So we insert the hook and from below we also insert it into other piece here. They are also long on this side, you see them clearly. They are also long along the side opposite this second row as well, but slightly between. Here it is slightly between, not opposite. And at once make a slip stitch and a chain. And so we go on working. We go one stitch down, again find this long vertical half loop along the edge, insert the hook from this side and under both, and on the other side. It's really clear to see them, really easy. Here they are. You see on this side it's even better to see it. And so you insert the hook here on one side and on the other consequently. Next one. Here and make a slip stitch. And a chain. And so like this looks our braid from the side. Again, insert it on this side, on the other side. Make a slip stitch. And make sure that rows are one right opposite the other, so rows are matching here. Almost opposite. So that in general they look like line is continuing on the other side. The next one. So, and like this, go on working till the corner. There where you have a marker, that's corner of the bottom. So I'll show you how we go on sewing the bottom and then again the side. So go on working till the marker and then I'll show how we work further. So now at the corner, here it is. at the corner. I have one more stitch left though, till the marker. And so now where the marker is, we insert the hook. I'll leave the marker, insert the hook right into the corner here. So you see these loops look like half loops along the edge. Here they are, also really clear to see them. So we make working thread and slip stitch and a chain, and so continue slip stitch and a chain. And then here I want to remind you that the bottom, I'll turn it a little bit here. So the bottom here has the same width as the width of the side. So we need to sew it so that it fits. Here it might not have the same number of rows, so here you cannot match anything. We'll have to skip something perhaps. So just we need to fit it according to the side. So we insert the hook in the next opening here, and the next half loop on the side. Here you see half loops, next opening, and again a slip stitch and a chain. Don't forget about the chain. Next one, into the next opening on one side, on the other, and make a slip stitch and a chain, and the next one, and so on. One, two, three, yeah, 1, 2, 3. It's matching, okay. So now we have reached the point where these two pieces were joined together. So here I think I want to make one more additional stitch so that I cover this place. Insert somewhere here in between, so that perhaps even so that you join. You see here we have such a little gap, so we want to cover this little gap. And then continue like this. And just go on working the same pattern, making a slip stitch and a chain into each opening till the marker. So I see that my stitches more or less are matching, rows are matching, so that's okay. And now see here we have a marker and I have a corner, so I'll take this marker out and insert the hook right into the corner here and make last stitch. So let's have a look how it looks here. Check that everything is okay. Make sure you haven't skipped any stitches. And now let's turn it and go on working. Check that rows are matching each other on both sides, are opposite each other. So let's have a look. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3. The third row of the bottom, as you see, is a little bit towards one side. To fix this, to make it absolutely matching rows, I will have to do a stitch here in this side to the next opening here between these two rows, but I will return the same here on that side so that I can slightly pull it to this side. So you see, now everything is in place. And now we can go on working like this. And when the rows are matching, you just continue the same pattern. In the next, make a slip stitch and a chain, and then again a slip stitch and a chain in each opening on both sides. Again on this side and on that side. Go on working like this, and at the end I'll show you how we finish this row. At the end, again, make sure that both sides are matching each other. And let's have a look. One before the last, and the last I'll make exactly into the corner here, and on the other side right into the corner as well. So now let's have a look. Make sure that this last stitch looks nice. I think I will make a slip stitch, but I will not make lifting chain here, the last one. And now let's try to make false slip stitch so that it looks nice. I will insert the hook under the upper loop here. Now this way I don't like it, so here you have to make it visually nice. This is the first stitch of the base. Insert the hook under both half loops of that stitch, pull the working thread like this, and I think that's it, because it already looks nice, looks already as if this thread was there from the very beginning. So tighten it slightly, and then we can hide it. Let's have a look. Yeah, by the way, I want also to return this thread to the other side so that we close this little gap that we have between those sides. So let's do this, like this. And then you can just pull it inside, like this. Here comes this thread, so we insert the hook right in the middle of a seam and pull it just so that it is on the wrong side. Now, absolutely the same. We start sewing the other side. We'll start together and then you can continue on your own because it is absolutely the same. So you just return back to the place where we started sewing the first and do all the same. So I have inserted the hook into this and right into the corner on the other side and pull the working thread. make a chain and then find the next opening, which is next to this first line. And likewise find the opposite opening on the other side and make a slip stitch and a chain. And so you go on working slip stitch and a chain into each opening. So like this we go on working according to the same pattern till the end, till the corner. And when you have finished, we will then start sewing handles at once. Then we will add half rings here, and then we will sew and sew in the lining, and only after this we will add the zipper. So now everything step by step, just finish sewing the side and then follow masterclass. Now the base of the bag is ready. Here be careful when you will be sewing the sides. Make sure that these seams are all right, that corners are at the same level so that it looks visually nice. Nothing is over tightened or anything. Then the sides will be going inside like this. These free ends that you have left here you sew to the base, and then we can start sewing in the handles. So before I start sewing the handles, we need to find a place for it and fix it with mean of sewing pins. So I put a handle like this. As I have quite a long one, I will sew it here. 1, 2, 3 rows of such pattern, and only after this will be the handles. But I have a long handle, so it's up to you. If you have a shorter handle, you can place it a little bit higher. So you can place it wider, you can place it narrower, it's up to you how you want it. And here you have just to find place that you like and fix it with sewing pins. I'll just show you approximately how you do this, and then I will find the center of the bag and place the handles as I like them. So you have found the place, you pin it in place with a sewing pin. You have to measure distance here, and of course make sure that it is symmetrical, that it is the same, and distance in the center is the same on this side and on the other side. And then when you have pinned both parts in place, then you can start sewing handles to the back. So now please pin them in place. Sew them slightly lower, because remember that here we will have a zipper, so you don't want it to be at the same place. It will be very difficult to sew it, so we need handles to be slightly lower so that they are covered with the lining, and then slightly higher you will have the zipper. Then we'll also sew the half rings, and then we will make lining and then add the zipper. So like this. Now find the place for the handles and I'll show you how to sew them. So approximately like this, I have fixed the handles in the back, and as you sew, it will try to shift. So be careful and make sure that you have sewn exactly where you want it to. So I'm going to use some thread. This is the embroidery thread. I didn't buy any waxed thread or any special leather thread, so I'm just going to take this thread for embroidery. I'll take it in 3 strands. I've chosen it because it just has the same color. I have a high variety of colors in embroidery threads. So it's up to you which thread you use. So these handles are rather decorative, so I'm not going that they will have to work for a big way. So I think that even embroidery thread will be okay, if it is strong, of course. Now I'll give you a zoom in and we will start sewing the handles. Actually, it's not difficult, it's just you have to make stitches into the openings. So I have made a knot and I'll fix it somewhere here. Be very careful with the pins, do not break yourself on these pins. You just have to pierce it somewhere here and just pull it to the right side, like this. So, and then we need to insert the needle again, make sure that everything is okay, everything is still in place, and pierce the needle through the first opening. For this you take the first needle away. Oh, I'm sorry, I have made a mess. So oops, like this. I'll take this thread. I'll show you one, then I will fix it back. So now we are making stitches in every opening that we have on this leather handle base. I recommend to make one stitch in each opening so that it will look nice. So here, for example, I'm using this thread in 3 strands and it looks okay. If you repeat it, it may not be so good, although I would recommend to make the first stitch slightly stronger by making several stitches in the same opening. Perhaps it would be reasonable to make a first one stronger. So, like this, sew it by piercing it through completely, like this. You see the thread gets easily entangled. And the stitch is quite wide. So you see, I do not like it 2 times, so only the first one will be double, all the rest will be just once in one opening. Then we go one opening down. You have to find the right place, which is difficult. And have a look that you are still sewing it straight, that nothing has shifted. So here you have to check with each seam and then come back to the wrong side, and so you work back and forth, right side, wrong side, pierce it through. Again, be very careful with your fingers. Like this, and so you continue sewing it down, and then also check that you haven't shifted, because you see it really easily to make it not straight, so that your seam goes straight vertically. Here it's very important because you want your handle to be straight perpendicularly to the rows. so you don't want it to be tilted this way or that way. Take your time, don't hurry. And so like this you go down, then horizontally, and then again vertically, using all the openings. Now when I reach the end of this, I'll show you how to end this seam, and then you can sew all the rest. So I have almost sewn this one. I just want to make a double stitch here on top again, just to make it extra strong. Like this. You see here, I'll make it double just to make it stronger, although I do not quite like how it looks, so I don't want to make all the stitches stronger. If you do, you can make all the stitches double to make them stronger, like this. So now you need to find the place for the second one. Make sure it is still the same place. As you see, first one lies flat on the back, and this one, which is with the sewing pins, is not so flat. It is still a little bit bulging, so pay attention at this when you sew, because you want it to be in the same place. And when you have sewn all the handles, we will start half rings. So that's how the handles look. So you see that here you can use a contrastive thread if you want to achieve a special effect. And now we will proceed to inserting the half rings. And as I recommend you to fold the side, then we need to install these half rings a little lower, so not higher than 5 of these textured lines. So I'll make them slightly lower because I want to fold the side inwards, somewhere in the middle here. For this you will need a plastic or metal darning needle and a small piece of thread. So it's really easy, and perhaps I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. I will attach it after the 6th row. You can adjust it as you like it. So approximately here. We just start sewing it with the same material, just with ordinary stitches. Leave this free, and we will then hide it and sew it. And so like this you make stitches around this half ring and fix it in place. Sew it along one line. I'll show you one, and then you can sew the other yourself. Like this. So I sew it between these two textured rows, and then it will look nice. It will be kind of hidden inside. And so you continue it like this. It's desirable that you cover all the metal gaps between you, so you make as many stitches as you need to cover all the gaps. And that's it. Now one half ring is already sewn. And when I fold it even like this, it will be okay. On the side it looks like this, you see? So inside we cut these free ends, hide them behind stitches, and sew them as I have already shown you. Likewise, sew one half ring on the other side, and then we can start sewing the lining into the back. And after the lining, we will sew in the zipper. First, we will crochet additional pieces to which we will attach the zipper and then sew it all together. So finish this and go to the lining. I have added half rings. As you see, I have attached the shoulder strap just to show you how it looks. Inside, I have sewn all the free ends and hidden them. And now we will start making the lining. I'll take this strap for the time being, attach it later. So for the lining, I'm going to draw it approximately so that you see. We need to take a piece of fabric, and I'm going to use one whole piece of fabric. This part's going to be the width of my back, and this is a height. And then I'll show you how we sew it all together. If you do not have such a big piece of fabric, but you have two pieces of a smaller size, you can divide it in two. And I'll also tell you the measurements here. You can just make a seam in the bottom. So let's measure the width of the back first. And pay attention that you need two knitting markers and mark second or third row. I suggest you to mark third. This is the level at which we are going to sew the lining. Insert it into the third row of the pattern, anywhere on one side and on the other side. And I do this so that we do not sew the lining here, because we need this line free from lining to sew the zipper. Lining will start sewing slightly below, so we don't have to cover this area with a lining because we need it. We'll need it later for the zipper, otherwise we won't be able to do this. So please note this. It's important. Lining goes here, zipper goes above. So let's measure along the contour, along the circumference, starting with a corner, and right along the line here. Press the measuring tape tightly to the fabric, but do not stretch it. And here right into the corner along the side. Along the side and other front part. Here you have to remember where you have started. And so I get 55 centimeters. So now I'll write down that I have 55 centimeters. The width is circumference divided by 2, which makes it 55 divided by 2, that is approximately 27.5 centimeters. So here we have to add also 3 centimeters for seam allowances. So the width of this piece will be 27.5 plus 3, which is 30.5 centimeters. So the width of 30.5 centimeters. We're going to cut the piece that will have width of 30.5 centimeters. Now let's measure the height. The height we are going to measure from the line where you are going to sew the lining, here, go down, then go along the bottom, and then all the way up. Approximately 40 centimeters. Going to be height. If you have one piece, then you just need 40 centimeters plus 3 centimeters for seam allowance. 43 centimeters. But if you want to use 2 pieces of fabric, then width of each is 30.5, same, but height is going to be 40. These 40 we take and divide it by 2, we get 20. Each piece will be 20, but to each piece we have to add seam allowance 3 centimeters. So it will make 23 centimeters. So you will have one piece that equals 23 centimeters and the other also 23 centimeters because you'll need one extra seam allowance. Now cut this piece of fabric the size you need, and then I'll show you how to sew and sew in the lining step by step, and then how to sew it into the bag and how to sew it with an invisible seam into the bag so that it is not visible. So here is my piece of fabric. I have already ironed it before sewing, and now I will pin in place first seams. So put it with the right side facing you, and then folding it along the width 1.5 centimeters. If we had 3 centimeters for the seam allowance, it means that on each side we have 1.5. And we mark our first seam here on top. Like this. That here we will have this seam. Fold it and pin it in place. Like this. And on the other side likewise. You have to fold it 1.5 centimeter and also pin it in place. So first we will make these 2 seams. If you have a tag, for example, I prefer to add a tag, then you can put it in the middle and sew it at once. In the center of one of the sides. Like this. So here we have marked the first 2 seams, and now along one of the sides I will also add such a tag. I like to fold it like this. If you have a tag, you can attach them at once. So make those 2 seams, and then I'll show you how we go on sewing the sides and shaping the bottom. It's really easy, so nothing complicated, just have to do it step by step. So these 2 seams are ready, and now we need to fold it with the right side to the right side, with the wrong side facing us, so that right sides remain inside of the lining, and also 1.5 centimeter from the side we pin both pieces together. Like this, we'll make 2 side seams. And then we will add corners on the bottom. I'll show you later. So first we make these 2 seams. So likewise pin it on the other side. Make these 2 seams, and then we'll start last stage, which is going to be making the bottom. So when these 2 seams on the sides are ready, we need to shape the corners. For this, we need to open the lining like this, put it onto some surface. Also, if you have 2 pieces instead of 1, then you will also make a seam here to join them together. So after this, you open the lining, put it onto some surface like this, and open the corner. We need to make a seam here. I have width of a bottom. Let's have a look how we measure it first of all. We take measuring tape and measure the width of the bottom from the inside. I have 9 centimeters, 9 to 10 centimeters, so approximately. Here I have to find a place where this corner will have also 9 centimeters. It won't be visible anyway, but try to make it more or less the same so that both sides are the same and this seam comes in the middle. And so you find the place where it equals 9. Maybe you'll have a different number. It's the width of your bottom of the bag. So I'll have 4.5 on both sides. I draw a line. I recommend you to pin it in place or draw a line. And so here on the other corner, likewise. So I will mark it with a sewing pin like this and make these 2 seams. Our lining will be ready and then we'll have just to sew it into the lining. So I have made all the seams and now we'll be sewing it into the back. Let's try it into the back first. So we need to place the tag right in the center. And remember that we place the lining under the marker, which shows us where this is going to be. You can also pin it into the bag if you like. I do not do this. I usually do this when I'm making big bags. Small bags I can do without it, but you can pin a lining in place if you like. I always start sewing here with this place right in the center above the tag. And so I sew it right in the center so that it is centered. And then go on sewing around till I have sewn all the lining. Now I'll show you a seam that I use for sewing it inside. It's a seamless way of sewing so that it is not visible where you have sewn it to the bag. I'm not going to show you all the lining, I'll just show you the main principle and then you can continue on your own. So first of all we need to fix the thread. If you have a label, also make sure it is in the center. If not, then you can start somewhere here. Actually, it's easy to start in the center so that the sides are more or less the same. And so we need first to fix the thread in the bag lower than you are going to sew it, several centimeters lower. You can make a knot or a loop method if you have thread in 2 strands like I do. And so I'll check again whether it is in the center. And so we pierce with a needle. I'll show you a zoom in. I'll just show you like this and then zoom in. We pierce the lining here where it is folded, right into the fold. Like this. Pierce the fabric, and we make a teeny tiny stitch so that you see several millimeters right into the top. We make a straight horizontal stitch. And then we pull the thread and now pierce it through the back. Here you can pierce it completely if you have a matching color. And I'll explain how to do it so that you can see it on the other side. You have to insert the needle back right into the place where you have pierced it on this side. Then it won't be visible on the right side. And on this side, we make it slightly into diagonal so that you have made a stitch, like 5mm stitch. Make sure that everything is fine, and then again, pierce it right into the top of the lining. And then again, pierce it through the base of the bag. Make sure that here you do not have to sew it higher than this marker, because there we are going to attach our pieces for zipper and you don't want it to be covered with your seams here with the thread. Here we return it exactly into the same point where you have pierced it, and on this side we go slightly into diagonal, slightly to the left. I'll now show you a zoom in so that you understand it better. So here is the fold. We insert the needle straight horizontally into the fold, like this. And here, be careful, here I have a handle, for example, so I have to be careful with it. And come back. So like this, we go on sewing along the perimeter. Here also push it right into the corner so that it looks nice. And as you see, it's absolutely seamless. You can't even see where this seam was. So after we have sewn the lining, we'll have the last thing to do is to sew in the lining, to sew in the zipper. So sew the lining in, and now you see my lining is already sewn. That's how it looks. Here I have finished sewing. I didn't do any knots, I just made several stitches back and forth, and that cut the thread. It will stay put, nothing's going to happen, as it is going to stay inside the cord. That's how it looks, really nice. And now we have to do the last thing, and that is to crochet base for the zipper and sew it into the back. Now I'll show you how we crochet these special pieces for the zipper. So the first one is ready. That's how it looks. And then I'll show you the next one. I haven't cut these long free ends, as you see, because I'm going to use them for sewing it into the bag. It's just easier to do this. So now we will make the second piece together, and then I'll show you how to hide these free ends, the shorter ones, and sew the zipper onto these pieces. I'm going to use 18 centimeter zipper. It's going to be here, so that we have a free end left. So, and when you have already sewn the zipper onto the base, then we'll start sewing this all together. To understand how many stitches you need to count at this level where the marker is these outer stitches, these ones, from the fold. So here is the fold and here is the fold. Count how many stitches you have before the fold. I had 22, I divided them by 2, so I need 11 stitches. I have cast on 11 chains. Pay attention that here it might be slightly different, it depends on the gauge, so this you'd better work tightly. So you have to make one, try it onto the bag. If you see that you need to make it more or less, you have to try it. It's a little piece, so you can easily try it. I just tell you approximately how many stitches you need. Maybe one or stitch more or one stitch less. So now let's start together the second piece. And make the preparative stitch, don't count it, like this. And now cast on 11 chains. And 2 lifting chains. When you cast on slightly loosely. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 2 lifting chains. So this row we work rather tightly. First we loosely, cast on loosely, skip 2 lifting chains, insert the hook under the third one, make a slip stitch and a chain. So pattern here is the same, as you see. Pattern is absolutely the same. A slip stitch and a chain. And work according to the pattern. And the next one, a joining slip stitch and a chain. Slip stitch and a chain. Slip stitch and a chain. At the end also slip stitch and a chain. Now you will have 22 chains on top because you had 11 stitches. Likewise, here we need to find the first vertical half loop, like we were working this pattern before. So we find this vertical half loop, make a slip stitch and a chain, and repeat this pattern. A slip stitch and a chain. And so go on working till the end of the row. And here you have last one. Again, don't forget about the last one here. And the last row is going to be just slip stitches without chains. Pay attention, just slip stitches into the same half loops. these loops should be neither too tight nor too loose, so here work kinda something in the middle. Insert the hook under the vertical half loop, make a slip stitch. And the next one, tighten it slightly, because you see you want to tighten this row a little bit. In the next one, again, a slip stitch. Next one, a slip stitch. And the next one. So these two pieces should be the same, so try to work them with the same gauge, try to make them the same size. I recommend to work them in the same day, because you can have different gauge. Today one, tomorrow the other. Today you work tighter, tomorrow you work slightly looser, so it's better to work them together. And here, have a look. Yeah, wonderful. They are the same. Pull the free end. You need approximately 60 centimeters, then you can cut it. Then we need to hide these short free ends, short ones, which we had at the beginning. Here on the right side, we see pattern. We are going to use this side for zipper. So we sew this free end like this, so that it's neither on one nor on the other edge, because we'll need edges for sewing. So free ends are hidden, long ones are remaining. And now we take any of these pieces. I have thread and thread in matching color. I chose a color matching yarn, but as my zipper is gray, I haven't found the blue one. It would be better to take the same color, zipper and yarn, of course. So I'll show you the stitches, how to sew it so that it looks neat. So what we need to do, we need to first put the zipper like this, fold this piece. You can leave a little bit here, just a little bit of space here. So I fix the thread here first into the knitted piece, and then pierce it through the fabric of zipper. It's important that this folded goes a little bit to the left, so that you see the zipper will be free to go. So make sure that it's not on the zipper, and with tiny, really teeny tiny stitches, you fix it in place. So you see that here you will also have 1 millimeter, so that you have enough space to open and close the zipper. So now your aim when you are sewing the zipper, you just sew it, nothing difficult, you just put it and make a stitch, but when you pierce the base, knitted base, you have to pierce it in the right place, so you have to pierce it at the right angle. And here I can do the following. I can move it a little bit like this to fix it better, fix this free end. So here it's up to you how you prefer to fix it. piece you can also insert inside so that it is inside, but it's up to you how you like to hide these ends of a zipper. So you can leave it like this, or you can sew it slightly better. And then you just fix it in place so that it stays put under. Then we insert the needle into the place exactly where we have pierced it on the right side, so that you cannot see the stitches on the right side. Like this. So I think that will do, and that we can continue sewing it along the zipper. And here we could at once, if everything is okay. Perhaps I'll do it like this. Like this. We go on sewing. Pierce it through, make a stitch on the wrong side, and here we pierce exactly into the place where we have and you pierce it slightly into the same place, but here go at the diagonal, closer to this or further from this. Better to make stitches closer one to the other. And so we continue. Make sure the zipper is still straight along. It's not difficult, it just takes your time. So like this, I'm not going to show you whole process, so you see that we make the tiniest stitch on the right side and then we make a slightly bigger stitch on the wrong side, and like this, moving along the zipper. My thread got entangled, so yeah, watch this also that it's not entangled. So go on working like this, and here at the end we'll meet again. I show you how we finish and sew the next part. So I have sewn this till the end, and now I'll recommend you to do the following: to sew this edge, maybe slightly bigger stitches, just so that it will stay put and it will not shift here and there. Now I'll show you what I mean. You see this edge, which is open now, we can sew it to the base and it will look better, I think, look neater. It's optional, though. So here we're going to move in the reverse direction, so the same stitches, but in the reverse direction. Like this. And go on working like this, and then we'll fix the thread and start the second piece. So go on working till the end if you want to make this extra seam. Here it's up to you, you can make bigger stitches here because they are just additional. Here you can sew it in several places, just here and there, not all alone. Maybe it will be even better and quicker. So I have sewn one side completely along both sides of the zipper. I just made bigger stitches here. Now we need to fix a thread here. I do not make any knots, I just make several stitches back and forth, and so that they stay put and it is okay. It will stay put into the cord of the knitted base. Now I can cut it. And next. Here I have already fixed the thread into the knitted piece. And we put it here. Also, first, by the way, you can also hide it inside. It's what I have said you at the beginning. You can fold it this way and then put it on top like this. You see, on the first one we have hidden it outside so that it's visible, but we also can fold it inside. I think it would be even better perhaps and look neater because it won't be visible like this. If you like, you can make it this way. So, and here I'm already going to, I'll do the same because I have already started doing it, but you can make it better. Here, long end remains on the left, on the right, on this side. Here, just make sure it is symmetrical to the other piece, to the other side. Now I will check so what I wanted to say, I wanted to tell you something. Yeah, this piece I will sew after I have worked along. On my way back, when I'll be going back, I'll sew it. I think it will be easier then. And then I'll move in this direction. Same stitches. So we just make a straight seam You don't have to open the zipper, you don't have to stretch the zipper, just put it one next to the other and neatly sew it one to the other. And believe me, that's enough to make it open and close to work perfectly. So here, don't worry, you don't have to do anything special for this zipper. Just sew it neatly to both sides. At the end, I'll show you again how it looks. And then we go to the next stage, that is sewing this piece into the bag. So, I have almost finished sewing the zipper together with these pieces. I'll make one more seam in reverse direction, just to fix it better. Here, by the way, you can also fix it several times. On this side I'll make longer stitches so that it's quicker and easier. This is just an additional seam to keep it in place. Make sure that everything is nice and everything is matching on both sides. And make additional stitch here so that it will stay put. sew it together. Like this. You can make an additional stitch here if you like. Open the bag, so although the